All right, guys, the new Hypostatic Symphony is here, the Hypostasis event, where you fight different Hypostasis and you can juice them up and give them insane multipliers. You can penalize your team and make you weaker. It's actually really cool. But the thing that I noticed is it is 14 days, 17 hours from right now. It just launched in North American server. Now, you get 7 days, and just clearing it gives you 60 Primo Gems a day. That's awesome. That's really good. 7 days of it, we're getting a nice chunk of Primo Gems. But here's the other thing, is depending on how much total score you get, so based on each day and each event, you're going to get some other awesome rewards. There's a lot of Mora here. There is a ton of Mora here, but experience books out the yin yang, tons of experience books. Like, this is a huge amount. That is enough to level, a character from probably 40 to 50 or 50 to 60. We've got some weapon stuff here, but if you add all this together, that is a lot of ley lines worth of value. Now, here's the other thing, is you need a total score of 20,000 to get this. So you're not going to be able to get this right away, but essentially, all you need is like 3,000 points, even a little bit less, per day, per hypostasis that you're fighting. And that's relatively easy to do. So let me show you how to do that. But first, a word from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by Door Inner Child, an absolutely stunning indie game. When they reached out and asked if I wanted to do a sponsorship, I was like, oh my goodness, yes. There are multiple different levels and worlds for you to explore that are going to be different parts of your mind. And each level will look different based on the emotion. There are puzzles to complete and platforming, kind of like a Mario game. And you can see the variety in here. There's a lot of love and care in this game, and they actually won a bunch of awards like Indie Game Innovation. I think that this is a cool change up of pace, and if you're looking for something a little bit more emotional, a little bit deeper, a little bit different, then give Door Inner Child a chance. It's on Steam right now. Links are down below. Click the link, download the game, and thank you for sponsoring this video. So each day, you're going to have a different boss to fight, and they do have different attacks than the Hypostasis that you're going to find out in the wild. This one summons these little purple crystals that will destroy you if they get activated with electricity, but you can turn them off by using other elemental attacks. Now, you're also going to get character bonuses, and this is a 20% damage boost if you've got Diluc or Ganyu. Everyone's got Xiangling, so she's going to be great for this, and then Xiangyun's going to get it as well. Now, that's probably, I'm guessing, going to change from day to day, but for right now, that's what you've got. But this is the big one, and this is the one I wanted to explain, is difficulty level. Okay, so in order to get the 3,000 points you need per day to get all the rewards, you're going to need to put some different multipliers on here. These are debuffs that are going to affect you, or buffs on the boss that are going to buff the boss. And it does make it quite a bit harder, but you're going to need to do this if you want to get all the rewards. Now, there's a couple of different ways to cheese this a little bit, but it is going to be a little bit difficult because these Hypostasis are much harder than the regular ones. They've got some heat-seeking attacks, there's more environmental hazards and things like that, but I'm going to show you this. I'm going to jump in on Expert. Now, I have some recommendations. So number one is this one right here. So challenge time may not exceed 300 seconds. So that's 5 minutes. That's not too bad. That's 100 points. I think that one is pretty doable by most people, especially if you're using a food item. But this one here, opponent's HP is increased by 25%. Now, you can crank this up to 200%, and, the tankier the enemy, the harder it's going to be to get that time. But even at 100%, I don't think it is that bad. You get 200 points for this, and I think with these two, that is a 1,300 points right there. Pretty darn easy. I haven't had any problems with this, with the overall damage. If you have characters at level 80, 90, if you've got weapons at 80, 90, I think it is definitely possible, especially with food. If you use like an Adeptus Temptation, I think you've got the damage. But even if you don't want to do that, you can turn it up to 50%, and you're still going to get a lot of points here. So you can fine-tune this to your characters and your damage, and it might take a little bit of playing around with it. But the better you get at the fight and the more you practice, the easier it's going to be to crank up the difficulty. Now, there's some other little tricks that I've got for you. So, opponent's cryo resistance is increased by 50%. That's cool. But if I'm not using cryo, that is a free boost here. If I don't use cryo at all, if I'm using Diluc and Bennett and Xiangling, well, that's just a huge boost of free points. So there's a few of them on here that are awesome. Again, opponent's physical resistance is increased by 50%. Well, if I'm using D-Luke the whole time, and I'm using my fire ability pretty much the whole time, that doesn't matter. So there's a lot of points in here that are pretty good. All party members' healing effectiveness decreased by 40%. Well, I shouldn't be getting hit anyways, because at Expert, it is going to hit so hard, you want to be dodging like crazy. So I don't mind turning that on. When an active character's HP is lower than 50%, attack is decreased. Well, I just said I don't want to take damage. It's going to be harder to heal. I don't want to take damage, period. Lots of dodging. So you can see here, we're starting to rack up points pretty quickly. Now, there's a few in here that are pretty punishing. Crit damage being decreased by 50% is a very big debuff. It's not the end of the world. All party member energy recharge decreased by 80%. This one is pretty darn punishing. This is very punishing. Because you're not going to get your elemental reactions. Also, elemental skill cooldown increased by 100%. That one is pretty brutal. But, if you put both of them together, you know you're not going to get your cooldown. You know you're not going to get that ability very soon. And so you can kind of pace things out and wait for the final phase, and you're good to go. But there's kind of ways to game it and use it to your advantage almost. If you know that you're tanking your energy recharge, well, if the cooldown is much longer, it doesn't really matter because it's going to take me forever to get there anyways. I think that having your energy recharge and your cooldowns are pretty important, but I don't know. Now, here's the other thing. You can increase your opponent's attack by a whole bunch. And you can, get this one here where after sprinting, characters in your party take 75% increased damage. The issue is if you stack too many things that buff the enemy and make them hit really hard, you do have the potential to get one banged. And that is going to be a problem. If you're always getting one banged, you're not going to complete this unless you're really good at dodging. You can crank on all these if you want. And you can soar past 3,000 pretty easy. But you need to make a decision. Do I want to hit like a wet noodle? And have it be like the long con where I'm hitting pretty weak, but I'm able to take him out? Or do I want to make the boss so lethal that if I make a mistake, I lose? It's almost like, do I want Dark Souls? Or do I want to feel like a wet banana that doesn't do any damage? Do I want to feel like a paper bag? And for me, I personally don't mind losing damage. I honestly don't mind losing damage. The frustrating thing is getting one banged over and over and over and over again. And, this one here, the 20% movement speed, this one is an easy point. And so with all of these chosen, right, elemental skill cooldown, sprint, all of these chosen, I do hit less, but the boss isn't going to be too crazy hard for me. I am on a time limit, absolutely. But I'm getting the 3,000 points there pretty easily. And now I just have to execute. So let's watch some parts of the fight. It doesn't really matter if you've got a good team synergy, like element-wise. You're not going to be comboing because it always applies the electro. So you can't put cryo and then fire and melt or anything like that. It's just going to always do the basic reaction. So if you want to take like a fire elemental resonance for some extra attack, that's pretty cool. But the big thing is, do you have good damage dealers? Do you have good damage dealers? Someone like D-Luke, obviously S tier. Changling, very good. She's getting a buff. But if you have any of these characters, use them. They're just going to be making this much, much easier. When you spawn in here, there is going to be these crystals here. He's going to use, or this stasis thing is going to use a whole bunch of attacks that will apply to those, and it's going to activate. Now, you can deactivate it with elemental reactions. So, I don't know if you can see that. It actually turned that off. Gooba turned it off, and that's cool. And I can turn that off with D-Luke. Now, I did quite a bit of damage there already. And I have quite a bit of time. I've got 5 minutes here, so I'm not too stressed about time. Now, this attack here. This is a heat-seeking attack. You need to run the hell away. You need to run away from this. You can't dodge it up close. You have to get it to hit the ground there. If you try to dodge through, it's going to get you. It's gonna get you unless you actually run away. So be careful with that attack. Unfortunately, don't have a lot of damage here. This is where Ganyu is great. You can attack from a distance. But for a lot of this, right? A lot of this, you want to like burst it down when you have an opening. This is a really good attack for having damage. Or like a good DPS phase. As soon as those crystals turn off though, you want to get the hell out of here. Like that. Now, if you can react to that with some different abilities, that's cool. But these hazards don't matter if you don't go near them. It's cool to turn these off. But if you don't go near them, you're good. This is a big arena. And so you can dodge around in the middle. It's pretty much the exact same fight. If you can beat the Hypostasis before, you can probably beat it now. And the other thing too, I have not used a food item. So if you want to make it even easier on yourself, and you want to crank out an Adeptus Temptation, you're going to make this so much easier on yourself. So definitely something to think about is, do I want to use some food items? Now, I'm going to have to dodge, and this is going to be a little bit harder because of these crystal guys, but not really. Like, not really. And I took some damage there. But these aren't as bad as people are making it out to be. It's definitely a difficult fight. But if you've got a main DPS, if you've got a Diluc, if you've got a Gun, you've got a Shangling, you're golden. Now, you're going to see at the end here, he's going to summon a bunch of little crystals. This is pretty much the same as we've seen before. They're just kind of spread out. There's some big ones and little ones. It's pretty overall easy to deal with. But you're going to want some range or like area effect attacks. I don't have an elemental attack here. Got it. One phased. Now, they are spread out a little bit. They're a little bit annoying. I've seen some that are like much further away. So Ganyu is really good for this. But that was relatively easy for 3,000 points. Even when I took a hit, it only does a couple thousand damage, like 3,000 damage. I didn't use any defensive characters that reduce damage like Xingqiu or anything like that. I didn't use any defensive food, and that was still very, very easy. So I can leave that domain there. I can claim my reward. The first clear, just beating it, is going to get you Primo Gems. So if you don't care about the other rewards and you just want to get some free Primo Gems, you can just beat it on easy and smash through it as fast as you can. But I would recommend put in the time to get this done on Expert. It is not that bad, and you can see here, I've already got a ton of rewards right there. Now, could you crank it up and get 4,000 on the first day? Yep, you absolutely could, but you don't need to. It is just going to make it harder on yourself. It's going to be a bit of a waste of time. Just do your 3,000 per day, right? We've got multiple challenges. You're going to be coming in and doing this anyways. Easy peasy. Anyways, thank you so much for watching the video, and appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe, hit the bell, share this with a friend if they need some tips, and make sure to check out Door. It's a really cool indie game. Links are down below. I think that Door Inner Child is pretty awesome, and I think you'll like it. Thanks again. See you soon. Bye-bye.